So we want to get into a little bit of streaming wars.
Sounds good.
All right, let me pull that screen up. Here's one thing that we haven't been talking about a lot in streaming wars because they haven't been getting the attention lately. But we are going to be talking about Star Trek Picard, so it's good to kind of talk about CBS All Access a little bit.
Well, there you go.
I haven't really talked about them, and we will be talking about them quite a bit more as we get closer to Picard. We plan on doing a big Picard lead-up show, right? So,
right,
we talk about CBS All Access a little bit. So this is from the blog Bounding Into Comics. They do a lot of comic book news, entertainment news in general. They do seem to be friends of the fandom menace, and this is in particular this story started from Doomcock. So basically what happened was Doomcock was looking at Google Trends, and he was putting in searches like Star Trek Discovery versus things like Star Trek The Next Generation. And what he found was that Discovery wasn't stacking up. And the relevance of this is that CBS All Access has not given us numbers. We talked about numbers of Apple Plus versus Disney Plus. And Disney Plus has put out their first numbers saying that they hit 10 million. I believe it was a number that they said that they hit.
Yeah, it was. Well, that was the number they disclosed. That may not be the totality of it.
Right. Like it wasn't clear whether they were including the Verizon subscribers who are free,
Correct.
Things
Correct.
like that. So this article mentions that back in February of this year, CBS did claim they had reached 8 million subscribers. So that's the last numbers we had as far as subscribers. What we don't ever get really is how Discovery is actually doing. And this is something I really want to know. I want to know how popular Discovery actually is. And of course, CBS All Access knows exactly how popular it is because they know how many views the show is getting. That's the thing about streaming. With streaming, you know exactly what your audience is. But of course, all of these companies, going all the way back to Netflix, have always been very secretive about their numbers. In fact, we talked about in another segment a few weeks ago, we talked about that the Nielsen rating system is finally starting to get into streaming. They actually did they put out numbers on I think the Amazon series, the Boys. They put the numbers out on that. And one of the things that these companies don't like is, of course, Nielsen's only about what's on the TV. So if you're watching it on your computer, watching it on your phone, using other means, Nielsen doesn't record that. And I get why streaming services wouldn't like that. But my thing was, well, they can fix that by just disclosing their numbers and letting people know what they're actually getting, especially someone like CBS All Access, because I can understand Netflix being a little bit more secretive because they're not ad-based. But the fact of the matter is that CBS All Access has an ad-based service that for reduced fee. You can have an ad-based. You can get CBS All Access with ads. So that's when it becomes more relevant about what the how successful these shows actually are, and they may disclose a little bit more information to their advertisers and things like that. I don't know, but me as trying to do commentary and trying to kind of gauge the popularity of this thing, it's hard without real numbers. And so what they did here was they went into the Google Trends and they started really looking at this stuff. And the author of this article, he went a little farther than Doomcock and he started using other shows. So he actually started putting in searches for things like Star Trek Voyager, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, things like that. So the part here he says, I did my own, and then I have a little ad coming up. Get rid of that. I did my own experiment to see if, in fact, there is a problem with Star Trek Discovery, and I found some very interesting things. First, Doomcock is on point. As you will see below, Star Trek Discovery is losing in trends to both older shows and the current comedic take on the franchise, the Orville. They also compared it to the Orville. As Doomcock pointed out, The Next Generation and the Orville crush Discovery on Google Trends. And this is the actual graph here. Again, this is from Bounding Into Comics, if anybody wants to actually look at this article and look at it in more detail. It says Discovery has been flatlined since last year. It only got close to the trends of Star Trek The Next Generation once, back at the end of 2018. As noticed previously, TNG has been off the air since 1994. But I wasn't done. I wanted to go a bit further to get a clear picture. I removed the Orville and instead added in 2 other older Star Trek shows for reference. First, Star Trek Voyager and Star Trek Deep Space Nine. I also expanded the search to 2 years instead of 1 to give Star Trek Discovery a better shot and for clarity, of course. Full disclosure, our editor, John Trent, mistakenly believed DS9 to be the better series in the franchise. We can all forgive him for being wrong.
Okay.
So now on to the results. So here's the chart. It's a little difficult to see here, but again, you can go to the article itself, and it shows the different shows. We can see the results aren't all that wonderful for Discovery. Obviously, TNG is still performing way higher than Discovery, but so is Voyager. At points, Deep Space Nine had slightly higher search interest. Only at one point this past June was Discovery able to overtake Voyager in Google Trends. He said, I then decided to compare Star Trek Enterprise to Star Trek Discovery. So he's going deeper. It says, as we can see, Discovery, with its $8 million an episode budget, cannot even hold off a UPN-produced Star Trek Enterprise. So he's saying they even lose to Enterprise in Google Trends. So this is interesting, and it's telling as far as how popular Discovery might be. One thing that I will say that I always noticed was the way that I started getting into Orville with the Orville fandom was I started going on Twitter and using the hashtag and talking to other fans about the episodes as they came out. Right. And of course, at one point, Orville and Discovery were basically like coming out at the same time. And so what was funny was I would see Orville trending. I never saw Discovery trending. I think once I saw. We lost the feed for a little bit there. So anyway, that's just my own experience that I have noticed that as far as Twitter with trending, because I check them all the time. I check the Twitter trends all the time. I do it to find news and things like that. And I would see the Orville trending, and I saw Discovery trending once. So
well, and I just finished as of a couple of days ago. My wife and I wanted to rewatch Orville season 1, and I wanted to see season 2, and so she actually watched. Both really, really enjoyed Orville.
I think we lost you for 1 second.
Sorry.
You might want to just repeat what you just said.
Okay. Well, I was just going to say my wife and I, we actually rewatched. Well, I rewatched season 1, and she had not. I've got a warning coming up here, something about an unstable internet connection. Well, technically, I'm not on Wi-Fi. I'm hardwired into the wall. Way to go, Cable One. Anyhow.
Your avatar went away.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, your avatar's gone.
Well, I am up here sort of towards the mountains. I don't know. Hopefully it'll be all right. I've got a spinning wheel of death here on the StreamYard. Do I seem to be coming across okay to you as far as the sound goes?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Well, let's just assume everything's okay, because the only way I can actually even mess with the internet would be to unplug the router and plug it back in. We're real bare bones around here.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I wanted to rewatch season 1 of Orville, and I wanted to watch season 2 because I had not seen any of season 2. And my wife and I, we watched all of the Orville season 1 and season 2. We basically binge watched it over the course of a week or so. And I quite enjoyed the Orville. I like Star Trek Discovery for what it is. I mean, I think people know that on the show, I'm the one that's, enjoyed Star Trek Discovery. I really enjoyed season 2 more than season 1. Still holding out for that, either that Pike streaming first movie or something. They're going to do something with the Enterprise crew. I know I watched the last short trek as well, and I liked it okay. I didn't think the short treks. I'm not sure really show the potential for an Enterprise show in my opinion. I liked the first one with Spock and Number One caught in the elevator. I was not a big fan of the Tribble one. I did not like the Tribble one. And this last one with Pike, I still really like Anson Mount as Pike, and I like this episode okay for what it was. But I also saw what the episode was about coming from a mile away, so I was just kind of like, okay. I still think an Enterprise or a Pike-based show could be a lot of fun, and I think could do quite well. I do think after having watched it, I do think the Orville is a far superior Star Trek type of a show. They come at a lot of issues head on, and they do not flinch and they do not blink. I was kind of impressed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the production values, the music, the acting, everything is really good. And Micah liked it because she felt like, or my wife liked it because she felt like that it was kind of like Star Trek, but to her, it felt a little bit more relatable. I think the humor elements make it a little bit easier for us to understand as modern audiences. So for her, it was almost like what I enjoyed about Enterprise, a more relatable crew in scenarios that seem a little bit more understandable, but within sort of like a next gen Trek type of, environment. So
being that we are talking about streaming wars, how do you think the move of the Orville to Hulu is going to affect the show? Since the show was on broadcast television on Fox, that's how I found it. That's where I was watching it. I currently don't have Hulu. I'm thinking about getting it as a bundle with Disney Plus because I am interested in ESPN Plus as well. But how do you think that's going to affect the popularity of the show?
That's the one thing I am a little fearful for what's going to happen to the Orville, because when it goes to Hulu, I am worried that they're going to be kind of sitting behind this wall, and I'm not sure if it's going to be able to have the same kind of reach that it had being on broadcast television. Now, I understand this; it frees them up to have longer episodes and do different things, and that's great. Like I'm all about yay creative opportunities, but I'm also sort of like visibility very important. And
I
so
will
much
say,
so.
I think the Disney Plus bundle is going to help that a little bit.
Well,
that is a pretty good value if you bundle Disney Plus with Hulu and ESPN Plus, especially if you're into sports.
Right, and if I think, if Hulu, if this deal with Hulu is so that Hulu can push the Orville as one of their, streaming content leads, in the same way that CBS All Access has Discovery, in the same way that Disney Plus has Mandalorian. If they can push it as one of their sort of, leads, you should get Hulu to watch the Orville. Like if they make a big deal out of it, then this may be a coup and be a great thing. But as far as just the Orville moving to Hulu, if it's not going to get a big push, it's like, how many people know that Space 1999 used to be on Hulu? That's the original reason I signed up for Hulu, is because I wanted to watch Space 1999, and that was the only place I could watch it. Yeah, that's why I originally signed up for Hulu. And it's been off of Hulu for a long time. And there were several years I considered canceling it because why can't I watch Space 1999?
Space 1999 is available on Comet, by the way, if you're not familiar with that. And Comet does stream on their website.
Yeah,
so
I was not.
Space 1999 is available on Comet.
And I did not know that because I was not terribly familiar with Comet. So that kind of goes back to highlight what I'm saying. It's like if the Orville going to Hulu is just they're on Hulu, I'm worried. If the Orville being on Hulu is like, subscribe to Hulu and you can watch the new episodes of the Orville, and it's a big part of their marketing push, then kudos. That was probably a smart marketing decision. So we'll have to wait when season 3 is, because I know they're still filming, when season 3 is done and they start rolling out the publicity for it, and we see how closely integrated and how they're tied into Hulu and what Hulu's maybe going to do with them in terms of a marketing push. Then we'll have a better sense of what might be happening with it. So, it's interesting because I watched Observations with Robert Meyer Burnett, and this kind of tags into the streaming wars and a conversation we were just having. I don't want to run long on this, but I did want to mention one of the things that a lot of people have been clamoring for is the Snyder Cut. People want to see the Snyder Cut, the Justice League movie. And all kinds of reasons. I really don't care, to be honest. I like the Justice League movie just fine. If a better,
me too. I own it.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, if I would like to see Snyder's version of it, I'm not going to go on the internet and wave a flag about it, though. But if they released it, I would watch it, just like I own the theatrical and the extended director's cut of Watchmen, for example. I like a lot of Scott Snyder's films, so I'm not down on that. But the whole thing with the Snyder cut, Robert Meyer Burnett on Observations waxed poetic that one of the ways they might be able to find the money to complete the Snyder cut and release it would be if they were to take it and tie it in as an integral part of their marketing and a big push for HBO Max, for example,
Right.
and roll that out as a part of that and
Yeah.
say, this is the only place you can see, the new, Snyder cut version of the Justice League movie. See it as the director originally intended, blah, blah, blah. And then basically find the money to complete the film in the marketing budget for HBO Max or whatever. So I'm like, it makes sense. So that's the only reason I'm thinking if Hulu and Orville have made kind of a similar pact, and that's part of why the Orville's only going to be on Hulu, if that's kind of the deal that they've signed, then that could be genius and that could be a great move. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're going to be a big player in these streaming wars next year for sure. For sure.